We all hold our own secrets, but some people's entire lives are filled with deception and mystery. Now, I've talked about a few, like the infamous Jack the Ripper, and the identity of the Zodiac Killer. But there are many more mysterious people out there, such as a man who possibly pulled off one of the most impressive crimes the world has seen, to a secretive woman whose husband had no idea what would surface after she committed suicide. Here are 5 of some of the most mysterious people to have ever lived. Sit back and enjoy. When someone goes missing and is later found murdered in some obscure place, there is usually a huge amount of publicity and pleas from family and friends to find out who is responsible. But this was not the case with this one, because not one single person came forward to identify the Isdale woman, who was found on the 29th of November 1970 in the Isdalen Valley in Bergen, Norway. A professor who was out hiking with his 2 daughters found her naked and partially burnt body hidden behind rocks, surrounded by empty bottles and sleeping pills. Nearby, there were 2 full bottles of petrol, a burnt passport, and a packed lunch. The autopsy revealed that the woman died of carbon monoxide poisoning and burns, and had a large amount of sleeping pills in her system. She also had blunt force trauma to her neck, and her fingerprints had been sanded off. Despite all of these bizarre circumstances, the police initially concluded the woman had committed suicide. However, the mystery deepened after 2 suitcases believed to belong to this woman were found. They contained very elegant Italian clothing that had every single label removed. One of them also contained a prescription note with all of the details scrubbed out, 500 Deutsche marks, and a journal containing strange indecipherable codes, several wigs, non-prescription glasses, and a postcard. A drawing of the woman was released to the public, and a few people came forward who said they saw her around. But it seems she had up to 9 fake aliases, all with different disguises. When more research was done, things got even stranger. It was thought she was fluent in several languages, and hotel staff who recognized her said she displayed odd behavior and would often ask to change rooms. The last sighting of her was when she checked out of room 407 of the Hotel Marlin shortly before she was found dead. Despite all the publicity, no friends or family members came forward, but one man who said he took her out to dinner once and who gave her the postcard that was found in the suitcase said she was from South Africa and had told him she only had 6 months to visit the most beautiful places in Norway. To add another bit of mystery to this already confusing case, a local Norwegian man came forward 32 years after the unidentified lady was found and claimed he saw her 5 days before her body was discovered wandering in the forest. He said she seemed distressed and was being followed by a group of men dressed in black suits. When asked why he hadn't mentioned this at the time, he claims he contacted Interpol, who responded by saying, "Forget her, she was dispatched. The case will never be solved." This one is truly bizarre, and we have very few leads to make a conclusion. But do you think this woman was a spy? Let me know what you can piece together in the comments. Lori Arica Ruff. In 2003, Lori Arica Kennedy married Blake Ruff, and from the start there was always something unusual about her. Nothing crazy, but she just seemed secretive. Before their wedding, Lori was very reluctant to invite Blake's close-knit family, so the pair married in secret and then moved to Lennard, Texas, over 100 miles away from Blake's home. His mother was of course concerned about the vague and mysterious woman her son had moved away with, but couldn't stop him. Whilst at Lennard, neighbours were unsure about the secluded couple, especially Lori, as it seems she avoided people at all costs and barely came out of the house as she ran an online business. The pair eventually decided to have a child, and after fertility treatment, Lori gave birth to a daughter in 2008, but her obsessive and erratic behaviour and her reluctance to have Blake's family in her life was causing tensions, and in 2010, Blake left her and returned to his parents' home. Lori went into complete meltdown. She was frantic and desperate to get her husband back, and after several attempts at repairing the marriage, she drove to Blake's family's house on Christmas Eve 2010 and shot herself in her car on their driveway. An 11-page rambling suicide note was found addressed to her husband and daughter inside the car, and police revealed these were clearly written by a very disturbed person. After her death, the Ruff family searched for answers, as they had always thought Lori was hiding something. The house in Lennard was searched top to bottom and was a complete mess, covered in notes she had written during her mental breakdown. During their search, Blake mentioned that there was a strong box in the house that he had always been forbidden to go near. This was broken open and revealed that in 1988, Lori had changed her name from Becky Sue Turner to Lori Arica Kennedy. After further investigations, it was revealed that the real Becky Sue Turner had died in a house fire in 1971 when she was 2 years old. For some unknown reason, Laurie must have gathered enough information about Becky due to the publicity of her death to obtain an ID in her name. Why she would do this is unsure, but she had covered her tracks so well that prior to 1988, when she changed her name, there is no information on who she originally was, where she was born, or anything of the sort. We don't even know how old she was when she died, or how old she was when she first changed her name. What we do know is that she enrolled in college and university using Becky's name, and changed it to Laurie Arica Kennedy just after this. What's strange is basically no one remembers her at college or university, but she did get a business degree. Her DNA has been put through every database available, but nothing has come up. So what is going on? When searching that strongbox, there were letters that referenced an attorney, which has raised thoughts that maybe she was on the run from something, and there were also several random letters that the police couldn't piece together. So who was she, where did she come from, and why did nobody miss her or report her missing to the police? Some have speculated that she could have been a foreign spy, or a lady who wanted to escape her previous identity for some reason. Maybe she was mistreated as a child and ran away. What is known is that for the Ruff family, there are no answers, and unfortunately Laurie and Blake's daughter is growing up not knowing the identity of her own mother. The Woman of the Seine. This next one is very unusual. It's called The Unknown Woman of the Seine and started in around 1880, when a body was pulled from the Seine River at the Quai du Louvre in Paris. Her corpse was in perfect condition, and with no visible signs of violence or injury, it was concluded the young woman had committed suicide. She was taken to the public morgue and put on display, in the hopes someone would put a name to the unidentified body, a common practice at the time, but sadly no one came forward. During her time there, it's claimed the pathologist at the morgue was so taken by her beauty that he decided to make a cast of her face, and created a haunting death mask, something he would most likely be arrested for doing today. But then something strange started happening. Copies of the death mask started to appear in shops across France and Germany, and became a popular decorative feature in Parisian bohemian society. People became fascinated with the expression of this unknown woman, speculating on what drove her to take her own life. Unbelievably, young girls of the time even started to model their looks on the features of this unidentified girl. Then, in the 1950s, Dr. Peter Safar was responsible for the life-saving technique we now know as CPR. To practice his technique, he commissioned a toy manufacturer to create a mannequin, which he later named Anne, and the face the mannequin was given was that of the unknown Seine woman. The saying is that she's been kissed by millions of people around the world, and in the US she is known as CPR Annie, and is responsible for saving countless lives. So next time you see this CPR mannequin, know that it's the face of the unidentified woman who lost her life in the River Seine under mysterious circumstances all that time ago. This next one is quite upsetting, but is also very interesting and mysterious. It started on April 1st, 1990, when a young woman randomly stepped into the road at Huntington Beach, California, and was struck by two cars. She was instantly killed, and when police arrived they were unable to find any ID on her, but did find a hotel room key and a strange ring made of hair. After a while, no one came forward to identify her, and media reports were released in hopes someone had any information on this woman. Many local residents responded and claimed that they had spoken to her just days before she had died, and that her name was Andrea. Apparently she was around 25 years old, although this cannot be confirmed as some said she looked closer to 15. And it's believed she travelled from Virginia or possibly New York in search of her birth parents, who she claims were very well known to everyone. Then a man came forward and said she was homeless and he had taken her into his family's home just days before she was killed, and given her money and food, but he still couldn't give much information on her. To this day, no one has ever come forward to claim her as their daughter or friend, and even after more than 20 years, the police are remaining hopeful as the case is still open. It seems very unlikely, but maybe one day someone will be able to provide some information on this mysterious woman. Dan Cooper. Since I first heard the story about Dan Cooper, I was fascinated, and although it's well known, hopefully I can bring some new information to this unsolved FBI case. On November 24th, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper bought a one-way plane ticket from Portland, Oregon to Seattle. He was described as a dark-haired man around 40 years old wearing a business suit with a black tie and white shirt. After he boarded the Northwest Orient Airlines flight, he ordered himself a bourbon and soda and relaxed in his seat. After takeoff, Cooper handed a note to the flight attendant saying he had a bomb, and showed her a mass of wires and red sticks he had in his briefcase. The plane landed in Seattle as planned, and as he had asked, he exchanged 36 passengers for $200,000 in cash, over $1 million in today's money, and 4 military-grade parachutes. Keeping 4 crew members on board, he ordered the plane to take off and fly to Mexico City. He told the flight attendants to stay in the cockpit, and he lowered the rear stairs of the plane. Donning the parachute with the $200,000 of cash strapped to himself, he jumped out. The location of the plane where he exited is unsure, but it's believed he jumped in approximately a 5-mile radius of Merlin Dam, which during the night would have been lit bright with lights, giving Cooper the perfect landing marker. Despite jets being scrambled and an extensive FBI search, no trace of him was found, and for many years not even a single clue to his whereabouts ever surfaced. But then in 1980, a boy found a package containing $5,800 just north of Portland on the Columbian River. The serial numbers on these notes matched the notes given to Cooper, and since then there has been nothing except speculation about what happened to him. Did he survive the parachute jump and land in the Merlin Dam waters? If so, why was some of the money left, or did he fall to his death? If he did fall, you would think his parachute or body would have been found, or at least more than $5,800 of the $200,000 he took. So who was this man? Well, judging by the military-grade parachutes he requested, which were apparently very hard to use, and the fact he clearly had some knowledge of the aircraft he jumped from, like knowing the stairs could be lowered mid-flight, which was something the flight attendants didn't even know about, has led to the speculation that he could have been a Vietnam vet pilot, or even an ex-government spy, but I guess we will never know. You may have heard some say that this story is a hoax, but after really looking into it and seeing the amount of witnesses involved, like the people who prepared the parachutes for him, and the flight attendants, I find it hard to believe that this did not take place. It's safe to say Dan Cooper, which we can all assume was not his real name, did possibly pull off one of the most unsolved and perfect crimes in aviation history. So that's 5 people who we are a million miles away from solving the unsolved mysteries surrounding their lifestyles or their identity. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and as always, I will see you next week for another one.